I'm at. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Our meditation today is by Andre Moe. As we gather together, may we remember when you share with me what is most important to you, that is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that is where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you to shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other because of our shared humanity, because of our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. May this space be a table that is not complete until we are all welcome. May this table be a space of beauty where together we can create a series of miracles and where all that we share is sacred. May it be so.
And now is the time of our service where I invite you to donate as you can. As this is the second Sunday offering, the designated recipient will be the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The UU will respond to the war in Ukraine. If the ushers would please come forward. Thank you. Okay. Okay, one moment, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your generosity. And thank you once again, David. Okay, we're fine. You're good. And just as an introduction before we begin, today's service is going to be a bit informal, and we'll be on the theme of UU Awakenings. And we'll, as an introduction, I want to give these couple of prompts that inspired us. The first question is, how did your heart open to UU, and how does it continue to open? I will be opening this up, and then we'll have Debbie Campanella, Stephen DiLorenzo, thank you so much for stepping in at the last minute. Appreciate you. And Chris Palmer. So, to get things started, my introduction to Unitarian Universalism was just pretty much at the time an ordinary event. And years ago, I was doing, of all things, browsing in one of the stores at the mall when I spotted an acquaintance that I had met in one of the classes I had taken before. Anyway, we started to chat informally, and at one point he mentioned that he had attended this church and mentioned the minister at the time. He found it very interesting, and he thought I might be open to attending and at least checking it out. So I took his advice. I did check it out, and then I checked it out again and again and again. There was just something about this space, this place, that just really resonated with me. And looking back on it now in hindsight, I'm wondering, could this seemingly innocuous, mundane event been the tiny spark that introduced me and opened my heart to Unitarian Universalism? Could this be a way of pointing out that, or helping me recognize rather, that I could have been a Unitarian Universalist all this time, even as a practicing Catholic, without even knowing it? I'd rather keep that very short because I want to focus a bit more of what continues to open my heart to UU, what continues that awakening process. And let me emphasize that it is a process. It's about being the journey, not so much a destination. And sometimes that journey, that process, is not all sweetness and light. Sometimes we can be awakened to our shadow sides, the darkness, and challenges to opening our hearts and learning and growth. And especially in the last 2 or 3 years, we've all been going through some stuff. I know I have, and I know we won't get into that right now. Just suffice it to say that the depression and anxiety and just repressed emotions have gotten to the point where it kind of got me off track with with my journey. It took me to a very difficult place, and add to it the isolation and the ongoing financial struggles dealing with that, and especially the isolation. It's just the quarantine and not being able to interact with people as much. That was just very hurtful. And one of the things that has got me back on track and is keeping me going is, and keeps my awakening ongoing, is just, honestly, just the love and support I've gotten to carry me through these last couple of years. And in these moments where everybody is going through stuff, people have just nonetheless taken times out of their lives to just help me out. And that has helped me to carry on until I can sort things out. And I've been awakening to a much greater appreciation of just how fortunate I am to have found this place. It just, I just cannot find the words to express fully just how much more this has opened my heart and opened my eyes to how fortunate I am to have you as part of my chosen family, to have this place as my space where I can heal and grow and recover, and hopefully be there to help and support others as we learn, grow, and recover. And I'm hoping that I can be in a bit of a better place to be there for others, as so many of you have been there for me. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you so very much. And before I start crying, I'm going to yield the floor to Miss Debbie Campanella.
Thank you, Cheryl. That was an honor to hear your story. Oops. This was yeah, there you go. Soft voice. Thank you, Cheryl. It was an honor to hear your story. You told it beautifully, and you touched my heart. And can you hear me? Thank you. That's better. Thank you. All right. Look at this technology. But it was thank you, Cheryl. It was an honor to hear your story. You told it beautifully, and we're very brave to share it all with us. Okay, there we go. I'll get this technology down. All right. Okay. My story is different. I just joined this group a few months ago. My husband and I, James Campanella, there he is. And I'm very grateful to have found you, but I'm very much, as Cheryl is, still on my journey to totally embracing my Unitarianism. So I'm going to go back in my history of when I found Unitarianism also, and start in the summer of 1998. It all started when I accepted an invitation from a new tennis friends of mine to attend a discussion about interracial marriages. Jane and Jack were a biracial couple, were participating in the event at the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. Now, I lived just 3 miles from the society for 28 years, but I never knew it was there. When I arrived at the society, I was really surprised. You talk about serendipity. That a friend of mine, a tennis friend of mine also, of 3 years, we played almost every week singles, Debbie Goodell greeted me at the door of the society. It was good omen. And I walked into the room, and, well, the rest was history. Debbie was a lifelong Unitarian who was also an active 28-year member of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood. In 1999, I signed the book and remained a member of the Unitarian Society until we moved here in 2021. In 2004, my husband, Jim Campanella, joined USR. It took a lot longer than 1 year to form and embrace my identity as a Unitarian. Both of my parents were Jewish, and so was my first husband. We married when I was 21, and though too immature to get married, I loved my husband and was ready to be emancipated from my stifling life at home with my parents. Marrying outside of the faith, or very young women living on their own before marriage, would have been considered a shameful deed by my parents, and getting married young was the norm in the country. I was confirmed at a Reform Jewish temple, which meant that I went to Sunday school through the 11th grade, but was not taught Hebrew and learned little about the rich teachings of Judaism. Identifying as a Jew is cultural as well as religious. A great deal of the cultural learning of Jewish children happens in the home with family and friends by celebrating holidays and special occasions with ethnic food and music. After my two sons both made bar mitzvah, I did not affiliate with any religious group until I signed the book at the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood in 1999. When I signed the book at USR, I knew very little about Unitarianism, and since I had joined a society and not a church, it felt comfortable. In 2002, a month before she died, I told my mother that I had joined the society, and she remarked, "Good. It's very similar to ethical culture. They're good people, and you'll enjoy it." I was surprised that my mother knew about Unitarianism, but shouldn't have been. My mom had graduated magna cum laude from Queens College with a dual major in philosophy and English literature at age 60. And at 78, she had a book published about Shylock and the Merchant of Venice. Mom had evolved as she aged, and social norms had changed. I liked the people at the USR community. The services were in English and interesting. They had good music, some fun events, and a large social justice committee. In 2005, I started and led a documentary film and discussion series that ran at USR until 2011. The series drew between 15 to 90 people at each event, from the society as well as the community at large. Some of the movies were controversial and drew outsiders with agendas other than getting informed. We showed many Michael Moore movies, including the three-part Michael Moore Capitalism is a Love Story. When we showed Fidel, we had a group of 80 people, including a very belligerent group of about 20 Cubans from Union City, a town 30 minutes from Ridgewood, called out during the movie and got very rowdy during the discussion period. Fortunately, our interim minister, who had experience with crowd control, was in attendance and stepped up before the police had to be called. All these experiences really helped me to grow as a person, I'm very, very grateful to the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood and for allowing me to do those things. The last 2 years of the festival, I co-chaired the group with a non-Unitarian Muslim friend who had a PhD in comparative literature from Harvard. If you guys remember back to that time, Muslims weren't being portrayed in the best way in the mainstream press. We changed the film series from social justice documentaries to independent fictional films that showed positive portrayals of people just living their lives in the Middle East. The films attracted a different audience than the social justice films, and attendance at these films fell to 15 to 20 people. Janan and I were grateful that the Unitarian Society provided a place for us to show a different Muslim narrative than mainstream media. Last fall, I joined both the Unitarian Universalist Church and Congregation Children of Israel. This is the first time in 37 years that I have been affiliated with a temple. I am grateful that the leaders of the church and the temple allow memberships with other religious groups, and that rather than needing to change their identity to belong, members are honored in their search for truth. It is the profound covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Association to affirm and promote the 7 principles that speaks to my heart as well as my mind and takes me from being a reluctant Junitarian to being a committed one. To end my talk today and remind us all of our ethical common beliefs that bring us together on Sundays to worship, I'll read the principles. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth of our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Oops.
Thank you, Debbie. And our next speaker will be Stephen DiLorenzo. And thank you again for participating.
Hi, everybody. Not on? Check, check. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me to talk about my UU Awakening. I'm not the best public speaker, so I'll try to do my best. I'm going to start a little earlier than some of the other stories about my UU Awakening, and I think it's important to talk about those past experiences to who I am now. And so, like, I'm sure some of you here were raised in Christian households, and I was as well, and I was taught to imbibe those Christian beliefs, and from a very young age, and without a direct, deliberate decision-making process, I incorporated those in my life and was taught to value those. And those were very influential to me, and I structured my life around those, and I was on my way to becoming a pastor, and I started an undergraduate degree in philosophy. And as I became more experienced and learned more about what my beliefs were, and just grew up some, I separated myself from Christianity, and but unfortunately, around the same time, I was deeply influenced by the military, and like Christianity, there's some parallels there, like the subservience to a hierarchy, the abhorrence of questioning values. In the oath I took for becoming an officer, there's a line that says, I take this oath without mental reservation, and some people have referred to that as I can't remember the word, but have referred to that very negatively, as in like we shouldn't question our commitment to something. And I think Christianity holds that, or at least my experience with it did, and my experience with the military did too. And so I held on to the idea of the United States is, completely benevolent foreign policy. I was taught to believe in anti-Muslim racism, anti-Eastern racism, and I regret those now. And I regret how much time or effort I spent under those beliefs. Fortunately, I came back to philosophy in my time in the military. I became an instructor at West Point, and I was encouraged to get a master's in philosophy to do that. And in philosophy, we talk about ensuring that our beliefs, things we believe, have the right epistemic story, the right epistemic argument to support our beliefs. And so that somewhat strangely led me to Universalist Unitarianism. I haven't been in this community long, but so far I haven't been asked to believe things that aren't worthy of being believed. I've been taught to, we require that we value things, like 7 principles that we just read, and that's far easier. Like I don't need an argument to merely just say that I like human dignity and equality. And then one of the principles, it says that we value the search for truth. And I can't say that for my previous 2 eras of my life. So that's how I arrived to Universalist Unitarianism. But like we're talking about, it's an awakening, and I'm not fully awake yet. I'm fine with that. And I think I'm learning lots from Universalist Unitarianism. My history in philosophy encouraged me to have rational thoughts. And that doesn't lead us to a whole spiritual life. The things that I'm learning here are about emotion and compassion, and those types of things are not common in my lexicon and how I approach the world. And I really appreciate those things, and I think that's making me a more compassionate and loving person in general. Yeah, so that's how I have come to being a Universalist Unitarianism. And a momentous part of my becoming a Universalist Unitarian was when I had to make new dog tags, and I had to write Unitarian on them.
Thank you, Stephen. And now to our final speaker, Chris Palmer.
Sorry. I grew up with a family that was not religious. And in fact, to this day, I never... Can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay, sorry. And to this day, I couldn't tell you what my parents believed in, to be perfectly honest. My father never went to church. It was against his principles, I guess. He just didn't go. And my mother was raised Catholic in Europe, came to America, and she just didn't go to church at that point. Didn't like the Catholic Church here, because she didn't like it in Europe either. But when I was born, the thing to do, of course, was to baptize your child. So the church closest to us, I guess, was Lutheran. And so I was baptized Lutheran. And then we moved to Queens, and we became Reformed. I don't know what the church was Reformed from. It was from church, but it was around the corner, and the minister spoke German. So my mother said, "That's the church we're going to." And I said, "Okay." So I was as Reformed Christian. But all through my life, I've always thought all Christian churches were the same. You were either Catholic or you were not Catholic. And if you were Christian and not Catholic, they were all the same. I never really different dogma and different churches. But I never could resonate with church. I went to church, but I never knew what the church believed in or what the what the principles of the church were. I just went. And then, of course, when I became adult, I just dropped out altogether. It wasn't important to me. Religion was not important to me. And I believed in philosophy, I believed in other things, but Christianity was never really formed in my life. My friend and I moved to Augusta, and on a contract, nursing contract here. And for some reason, which I don't really recall, we decided that, well, let's see what this is all about, this Unitarian church. So we came to the Unitarian church, and we liked it. The people were very nice. The people were friendly. They talked to us. They welcomed us. They invited us to the Thanksgiving potluck. That was great. And then I went off to Saudi, and we came back and go to church until my friend passed away. And then I needed somebody to help me with the memorial service. So I thought, oh, well, we went to the Unitarian church, and maybe they would help us out. So I called the church, and yes, Reverend Dan was here at the time, and he said, yes, he would do the service for us. And so he did, and he did a great job, and it was wonderful. And I said to Grandma, you know, we really should go to this church because, after all, I mean, he was kind enough to come to do the service, so we should come and at least show a face. So we came, and I sat here and I thought, there's something special about this religion. It's just resonated so much with me. And so we became members right then and there. I think we were members of the church. And this whole religion has been my life savior. It's been...
Just bring this here and take that right off.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Is that better? Okay. So, I've been very active in this church because I love the principles. I love what it teaches. It's what I've always believed in. I've always been a Unitarian and never knew it. It was like it was always there. The search for justice, working for social justice, for equality, for caring about people, for compassion, for all the things that this church, that this religion teaches and lives by, has always been a part of me, and I never knew it. I never knew that there was a place that really promoted all of these principles that have always been very important to me. And this church, this congregation, has been a lifesaver to me. The last 6 months have been a very difficult time. And it's been the people and the congregation who have stood by me, who have helped me, who have just been there. And I knew that if I needed help, that I had people that were my family. This church is my family. And I keep learning more and more and more about Unitarianism and the people. It's not the church, it's a building. It's the people and the congregation and the caring and the compassion and the love that the community offers every single person. Anybody who comes through that door is welcome. We don't ask what your religion is, what's your doctrine, what do you believe in. We don't care. You're a person and you belong here and you're welcome. And that's what keeps me going into this church, and that's what I keep learning and keep hoping to embody.
Thank you, Chris. Well said. Well said. Thank you, everyone.
Add my thanks to all those who participated. Our closing hymn is hymn number 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey, and certainly those words perfectly capture the sentiments that were expressed by people tonight. You can find it in the gray hymnals, 295, and hopefully on the wall. There it is. We are set. Rise in body or spirit and raise our voices. Searches in the soul's deep
Before I go into the benediction, I would like to say thank you once again to my co-presenters, and to David for being just a phenomenal guy. Thank you so much. You're a treasure. I appreciate you. You're a treasure. And thank you to the tech deck for getting through the inevitable glitches. That's just a part of technology. So it is what it is. Thank you for your help. Just wanted to make sure I give you a shout out as well. So, and that being said, now to our benediction. May it stay with you by the Reverend Scott Taylor. May it stay with you, this awakening, this beautiful grasp of who you truly are, never alone, always worthy, graced with a unique gift that the world surely needs. And if you lose it, if it slips through your busy fingers or is drowned out by the noise of the world, remember, you can always retrieve it here in this tender temple of equally forgetful friends who are always ready to sing you back to yourself. May it be so. Amen. Blessed be.
Spirit of life,